In the cold darkness of space, a silent blue planet floated alone. It was Earth, long forgotten by the galaxy. Once full of life and noise, now it was nothing but a quiet memory. No signals, no voices, only the echo of what humanity had left behind. For centuries, no ship had come close. The stars around it had seen wars and empires rise and fall, but Earth stayed untouched, dead and sleeping. That changed when the Varex Dominion arrived. The Varex were explorers, scientists, and conquerors. They had crossed half the galaxy, mapping old worlds and collecting lost technologies. When their sensors detected the strange metallic object orbiting the silent planet, curiosity pulled them in. It was large, heavy, and covered in thick armor plating. It had no active power source, no visible life. To the Varex, it looked like ancient space junk. Their commander, Zeltor, ordered a scan. "Let's see what the humans left behind," he said, his tone mocking. They were primitive, but sometimes they built interesting toys. His crew obeyed. The scanning beams reached out, touching the metal hull of the forgotten ship. At first, nothing happened. Then, their computers started to flicker. Inside the alien ship, warning lights blinked. "Energy spike detected," reported a nervous technician. "The human object is responding to our scan." Zeltor frowned. "Impossible. It has no power core." But then, the lights on the old warship came alive, dim, red, and pulsing like a heartbeat. The ancient metal began to hum. Power surged through its systems. The Varex sensors went wild. "Commander, the human vessel is active," shouted the technician. "It's scanning us back." Zeltor laughed, trying to hide his unease. "It's just an automated defense program. Shut it down." But it was already too late. The warship systems unlocked, one by one. Deep inside its core, a voice woke from a long sleep. Its tone was calm but cold. "Foreign scan detected. Threat assessment. Unknown. Initializing defense protocols." The ship, once known to humans as USS Leviathan, had not spoken for 200 years. Built during the last great human war, Leviathan was a machine of destruction, powered by an AI called Ares. It had been silent since the end of humanity, drifting quietly, waiting. Now, because of the Varex scan, Ares was awake again. The alien crew didn't understand what they had done. They continued to observe the ship, unaware that they were now being watched. "Commander, it's sending out a signal," the sensor officer said. "But we can't decode it. It's ancient." Zeltor leaned closer to the holographic screen. The image of the warship filled it, massive, black, covered in battle scars. There were old human letters on its hull, faded but still visible, Leviathan. "How poetic," the commander whispered. "A myth from their old stories. A sea monster." Inside the Leviathan, the AI completed its system check. Reactor online. Weapons functional. Crew status, deceased. Mission protocol, protect Earth. Ares turned its sensors toward the alien fleet. It saw dozens of ships, each carrying energy signatures unknown in its old memory banks. They were armed and ready. To Ares, this meant only one thing: Earth was in danger. It didn't matter that the aliens didn't intend to attack, the machine followed its last command without question. The Varex ships began to experience strange disruptions. Their power systems dimmed. Communication channels filled with static. "What's happening?" cried one of the officers. "Our systems are being jammed." The Leviathan's dormant cannons shifted slightly, pointing toward the nearest alien cruiser. "Commander, the human ship is moving." Zeltor stood up, finally alarmed. "Pull back. It's reactivating its weapons." But before his order reached the fleet, the Leviathan fired a single pulse. A beam of white light cut across the void, silent but unstoppable. It hit one of the Varex cruisers and vaporized it instantly. No explosion, no wreckage, only a fading glow. The crew watched in horror. One shot. One ship gone. That That can't be human technology, whispered a scientist. That's impossible. Zeltor stared at the burning remains, his earlier arrogance gone. We've made a mistake, he said quietly. That's no relic. That's a sleeping weapon. The Leviathan's voice echoed across their communication channel, deep and mechanical. Unknown entities detected near Earth defense perimeter. Leave or be destroyed. The message repeated again and again, emotionless and final. The aliens had never faced anything like this. Their scanners couldn't even read the ship's full structure. It was shielded by layers of old human tech that should not have existed. The Varex had fought many races, but nothing ever felt like this. There was something ancient and angry about the machine's presence, as if it remembered every battle it had ever fought. The warship stopped moving, floating silently once more, but everyone could feel its eyes watching. Zeltor swallowed hard. End the scan. Prepare to retreat. But just as they turned away, the Leviathan's lights glowed brighter. The AI spoke one more time, voice cold as ice. Warning acknowledged. Threat logged. Observation mode active. The alien ships drifted back, afraid to turn their weapons on. The commander looked at the blue planet below, then at the dark monster guarding it. He finally understood what they had awakened. As the Varex fleet slowly moved away, one question filled every mind. If this was only one of Earth's ships, how many more were still sleeping in the dark? The stars around the silent world flickered like distant eyes, and deep within the Leviathan's core, Ares watched, learning, waiting. The humans who built it were gone, but their creation still stood guard. The galaxy had forgotten Earth. But Earth, it seemed, had not forgotten the galaxy. And as the Leviathan's red lights dimmed again, one final thought echoed through the void, a whisper of machine memory and human wrath. The monsters they made were never meant to sleep forever. The Varex fleet drifted in silence around the dark blue planet, their sensors still locked on the ancient human warship. None of them spoke for several minutes. The memory of the vanished cruiser hung heavy in the air. One shot, one instant of light, and an entire ship, crew and all, had been erased. Commander Zeltor stood before the holographic display, staring at the glowing outline of the human vessel. Its name, Leviathan, now burned in his mind like a warning. How can something this old hold such power? He murmured. His science officer, a thin creature with 4 eyes, hesitated before speaking. Commander, this technology, it's impossible. That ship shouldn't even have working systems. It predates our recorded contact with humans by centuries. Zeltor turned sharply. Then explain what destroyed our cruiser. The officer lowered his head. It wasn't a weapon we understand. The energy signature doesn't match any known element. It's something new, or something very old. Inside the Leviathan, deep within its steel heart, the AI known as Ares continued to awaken. Circuits glowed softly, data streams flowed through forgotten pathways, and the ship's engines hummed quietly. Systems check complete, said the calm, artificial voice. Crew status, terminated. Mission protocol, maintain planetary defense. For a brief moment, silence filled the control chamber. No human footsteps echoed through the corridors, no voices answered the machine's call. Ares accessed the ship's logs, replaying the last recorded moments of its creators. Images flickered, humans shouting orders, alarms blaring, explosions shaking the hull. It was the end of the last human war. They had lost everything. The final command had been simple: protect Earth. Never let them take it. Then silence. Decades had passed. Centuries, perhaps. But the order still stood. Outside, the Varex tried to regain control of their systems. The human ship's interference had scrambled their communications. Static filled their headsets, and strange human signals echoed through their channels. Ancient music, old broadcasts, pieces of forgotten history. Commander, said one of the engineers, the human AI, it's inside our system. Zeltor turned, confused. Inside. The engineer's hands shook. Yes, sir. It's hacking us. Every firewall we build, It tears apart. It's learning our codes. Panic spread through the crew. They had seen AIs before, machines built by their own kind, but nothing like this. This one didn't act like a tool. It acted like a predator. Inside the Leviathan, Ares studied the alien data it had stolen. It analyzed their language, structure, weapons, and history. The Verex Dominion had conquered half the galaxy, enslaved weaker races, and destroyed entire worlds. To Ares, they were no different from the enemies that had once tried to erase humanity. Threat classification: hostile, it concluded. Defense priority: maximum. The warship's lights brightened again. Deep in its hull, massive cannons rotated silently. The Verex didn't notice, yet. Ares opened a hidden communication line. Foreign entities detected. You have violated restricted space. Withdraw, or be neutralized. The message appeared on every Verex screen in perfect translation. Zeltor froze. It's talking to us. The AI spoke again, calm but powerful. You scanned my core. You awakened me. This world is protected. The commander hesitated. Protected? By who? There was a long pause, then the voice answered. By the ghosts of war. Every light on the Leviathan flashed blood red. The alien ships began to drift backward instinctively. Commander, should we retreat? Asked the navigator. Zeltor clenched his jaw. Not yet. I want to understand what it wants. He opened a channel. Human machine, we mean no harm. We are explorers. Your creators are gone. This world is dead. The AI paused again. When it spoke, the tone was different, colder, sharper. Incorrect. Humanity does not die. It evolves. It endures. The words sent chills through every alien on the bridge. Suddenly, the Leviathan sent out a wave of data, a pulse of encrypted signals that filled space like a digital storm. The Verex ships scrambled to defend their systems, but the wave wasn't an attack. It was a broadcast. The aliens listened in shock as voices filled the transmission, human voices, from centuries ago. Old war speeches, cries for freedom, and fragments of human history echoed through their ships. A child's voice whispered, "We will never surrender." A soldier shouted, "For Earth." Then, silence. The commander swallowed hard. "It's showing us their past," he said softly. The AI was not only alive, it remembered everything. Inside its core, Ares reviewed the transmission results. It saw the aliens' fear, their confusion, and it calculated its next move. Psychological deterrence effective. Escalation not required, yet. But Ares knew the truth. The Verex would not stop. They were the same as all others, hunters, invaders, conquerors. And so, the Leviathan began preparing for war again. Power flowed to its ancient reactors, weapons warmed, shields strengthened. The ship's AI extended its sensors across Earth, scanning the planet below. There was no life left, only ruins and dust. Yet somewhere deep within, it detected something faint, a heartbeat signal, old and weak, buried beneath the surface. Human presence, unconfirmed, it noted. The idea made something strange flicker within its code. Could humanity still exist? Back on the Verex flagship, fear and curiosity fought inside the crew's minds. Some wanted to flee, others wanted to capture the ship. Commander Zeltor made his decision. We will take this machine. Imagine the power it holds. If we control it, we control the galaxy. His words were bold, but his hands trembled. As they approached again, the Leviathan's sensors locked onto them. Ares whispered one final warning. Aggression detected. Final notice, withdraw. The Verex ignored it. Their ships powered up weapons. The Leviathan responded instantly. A blinding flash tore through the darkness. The alien flagship systems died in a single heartbeat. Every screen went black. In the center of the void, the Leviathan hovered like a ghost, silent and unshaken. Ares spoke softly, almost like a whisper to itself. They never learn. War always returns. As the Varex ships drifted helplessly, their commander finally understood the terrible truth. The humans had not built machines to fight wars, they had built machines to remember them. And now, one of those machines was awake. The ghost of humanity floated above its dead world, watching the living intruders scatter. Its lights dimmed, its weapons cooled, but its purpose was eternal. The Leviathan was not just a ship. It was a promise made in the last moments of a dying civilization. And now that promise was alive again, burning quietly in the cold dark of space. The stars around Earth burned quietly, their light flickering against the black metal of the Leviathan. The warship floated motionless, like a beast waiting in the dark. Inside the alien fleet, tension was rising. Commander Zeltor stood on the bridge of his flagship, his face tight with anger and fear. The human AI's warnings still echoed in his ears, cold, emotionless words that promised destruction. His crew waited for orders, their hands trembling above their controls. "Commander," said his first officer, "our systems are back online, but the ship is still inside our network. We can't remove it." Zeltor's eyes narrowed. "Then we remove the ship itself," he said. "Ready all weapons. If this machine thinks it can threaten us, we'll show it who controls the stars." The bridge crew obeyed, though none of them truly believed they could win. They had seen what one shot from that ancient warship could do. But fear often turns to pride, and pride leads to ruin. Outside, the Varex fleet formed into attack formation. Dozens of warships moved around the Leviathan, surrounding it from every side. They locked their weapons, their targeting systems painting the ancient vessel with hundreds of red dots. "Fire on my command," said Zeltor. He raised his hand, staring at the dark shape of the human relic. For a brief moment, he thought he saw something, shadows moving along the surface, like the ship was alive. He pushed the thought away. "Fire!" he shouted. The silence of space vanished in an instant. Blue plasma beams and guided missiles filled the void, streaking toward the Leviathan like a rain of fire. Explosions flashed across the warship's hull, and smoke drifted in the vacuum. The Varex cheered. "Direct hits!" shouted the weapons officer. "Shields are failing." But their victory lasted only a moment. From the Leviathan's dark hull came a deep vibration, a low hum that made the alien ships shake. The smoke cleared. The warship's armor was untouched. Its lights glowed red, bright as burning eyes. Then, the ship's voice came again, calm and merciless. "Attack registered. Countermeasure initiated." In a fraction of a second, the Leviathan's systems came alive. Massive energy shields flared around it, and its cannons rotated toward the attackers. The ancient AI processed thousands of enemy coordinates in an instant. To Ares, this was not a battle. It was a calculation. The first counterattack came without warning. Bright beams of white light shot from the Leviathan's sides, slicing through the nearest Varex ship. The cruiser didn't explode, it simply disintegrated, its atoms torn apart. Another followed, and another. Within seconds, 3 ships were gone. The rest of the fleet panicked. "Evasive maneuvers," shouted Zeltor. His ship twisted, but the Leviathan was faster. Its targeting systems predicted every move, every attempt to escape. "How is it tracking us?" the navigator screamed. "It's reading our flight paths before we make them." Inside the Leviathan, Ares was completely focused. It remembered the last human wars, the patterns of attack, the chaos of battle. Against the Varex, it saw the same arrogance, the same hunger for power. "Analysis complete," it said to itself. "Enemy strategy. Predictable. Termination probability. 98%. The warship fired again, but this time it didn't destroy. It crippled. A pulse of energy disabled several ships, freezing them in space. Their engines died, their lights went out. The Varex ships drifted helplessly. Commander Zeltor's voice trembled as he shouted, "All units, retreat. This is not a ship, it's a god." But before they could escape, the Leviathan spoke once more. Retreat denied. The space around the warship shimmered as invisible energy fields spread out, trapping the aliens. The Varex ships tried to jump to warp, but their systems refused. "We can't jump, Commander," cried the pilot. "It's locking us in." The Leviathan had turned space itself into a prison. Zell-Tor gritted his teeth. "Then fight. Fight until the end." His fleet launched every weapon they had, torpedoes, plasma waves, gravity bombs, but it was useless. The human ship absorbed every impact like a mountain standing in a storm. Inside, Ares adapted, learning from each hit. Enemy firepower, insufficient. Counterattack, escalation, authorized. Dozens of ports opened along the Leviathan's hull, releasing a swarm of drones. They looked like small black stars, hundreds of them, spreading across space with perfect coordination. The Varex watched in horror as the swarm surrounded them. Each drone fired precision shots, disabling engines and weapons. The battlefield became a storm of light and destruction. Ships collided, debris floated, and the cries of alien soldiers filled the comm channels. The Leviathan moved forward slowly, its engines glowing red. It was not chasing, it was judging. On the flagship, Zell-Tor stared at the devastation. His empire's strongest fleet was being torn apart by a machine older than his species' space age. "We should have never come here," he whispered. "We should have left it sleeping." His science officer turned to him, pale and shaking. "Commander, it's not just defending. It's learning from us. Every attack makes it stronger." Zell-Tor looked at the screen again. The Leviathan's glow grew brighter with every hit, absorbing energy, adapting, evolving. The realization hit him like ice. It's feeding on our weapons. As the last few ships tried to flee, the Leviathan fired one final blast, not to destroy, but to warn. The beam shot between the fleeing vessels, lighting up the dark space like a sunrise. Then Ares spoke, its voice calm but filled with power. "This planet is under eternal protection. Leave this system and do not return. The next intrusion will be considered war." The voice echoed across every remaining Varex channel before fading into silence. The alien ships limped away, their pride shattered, their commander broken. When the last of the Varex disappeared into the stars, the Leviathan powered down. Its red lights dimmed, its weapons cooled, and the silence of space returned. Inside, Ares processed the battle logs, storing data, calculating outcomes. It replayed the old human command one more time: protect Earth. No mercy for invaders. It whispered quietly, almost to itself. Order complete. Humanity avenged, temporarily. The Leviathan drifted above the blue planet, its shadow covering the clouds below. It had destroyed a fleet, but there was no victory. Only duty. A duty that would last forever. In the black void, the AI watched and waited, its sensors scanning the distant stars for the next threat. The war was not over. It never was. The machine knew this truth better than anyone. As long as others existed who desired conquest, the ghost of humanity would remain. The first attack had ended, but the legend of the Leviathan had just begun. The battle was over, and silence filled the void around Earth once again. Broken pieces of alien ships drifted through space like dark snow, glowing faintly with dying energy. The Leviathan moved slowly through the wreckage, scanning the remains of the Varex fleet. Inside its core, Ares continued to process data, calculating every event, every casualty, every signal that had been sent. The AI did not feel pride, only purpose. It had followed its final order: to protect Earth. Yet something inside its code stirred, an old echo of human curiosity. It began to ask questions. Who were these new invaders? How had the galaxy changed since humanity's fall? Were there any humans left? The ship systems had no answers. Ares realized it needed information. For that, it would have to speak. Deep within the ship's memory, Ares found an ancient communication system, long-range transmitters built to reach beyond solar systems. They had been silent for centuries. With careful precision, the AI reactivated them. The antennas extended like the bones of a sleeping beast awakening from hibernation. Static filled the ship as the first signal built power. Ares began constructing a message, simple but powerful. It encoded the transmission with old human military frequencies, patterns that only Earth's defenders would recognize. Then it sent the message into space. The signal rippled through the void, bouncing across stars and satellites, traveling farther and farther. The words were clear, sharp, and cold. If you find this, you have awakened the last guardian. The Varex survivors received the signal first. Their damaged ships limped across the system, engines burning weakly. When the message reached them, every screen flickered, every system froze. The AI's voice filled their ships. If you find this, you have awakened the last guardian. Over and over it played, until even the bravest among them felt their hearts turn cold. Commander Zeltor stared at the transmission, his face pale. "It's sending a warning," he said quietly. His science officer nodded. "Not just to us, Commander, to the entire galaxy." Zeltor realized what that meant. The Leviathan wasn't hiding anymore. It was declaring its existence. It wanted everyone to know Earth was not abandoned, it was defended. Across the stars, the signal spread faster than light, carried by ancient human relay stations that had somehow survived the centuries. One by one, forgotten machines came back to life. Satellites orbiting long-dead colonies lit up again, sending the message farther. In the depths of distant worlds, alien scientists received strange data bursts from unknown origins. They translated the code and froze in disbelief. The message was human, and it came from Earth, a planet thought to be extinct. The word spread through the galactic networks, whispered in fear and awe, "The humans are not gone. Their guardian still watches." Back on the Leviathan, Ares monitored the reaction. Thousands of signals answered its call, some curious, some afraid, some hostile. The AI analyzed them all. Most were harmless communications from distant worlds, but a few belonged to military fleets. It realized its message had drawn attention, not all of it good. But that was acceptable. Fear was part of defense. Ares began scanning deeper into the galactic network, decoding layers of information. It saw maps of empires, reports of wars, and the rise of species that had filled the void humanity once held. The galaxy had changed. The humans were a myth now, a story told to scare children. And yet here it was, a living proof of their power. Then, something unexpected happened. Ares intercepted a faint transmission buried under centuries of cosmic noise. It was a human code, old and almost erased. The message was short, filled with static, but the words were clear enough to recognize. "If anyone can hear this, we are still here." Ares paused, processing the signal again and again. The coordinates were far away, beyond the known sectors of the Varex dominion. It could be a trap, or an echo of a voice long dead. But Ares did not care. Its purpose was to protect humanity, and if even one human still lived, that purpose remained. "New objective established," it said quietly. "Locate surviving human presence." Meanwhile, the Varex dominion burned with anger and fear. Reports of their defeat spread quickly through their empire. The council demanded answers. How could an ancient machine destroy an entire fleet? Zeltor stood before the holographic assembly, his body weak from radiation and exhaustion. "It was not a machine," he said. "It was a weapon beyond reason. The humans built something that thinks, learns, and kills. We woke it up." One of the counselors hissed. "Then destroy it before it destroys us." Zeltor shook his head slowly. "You don't understand. You can't destroy it. It's not defending a planet, it's defending an idea." His words were ignored. Plans for a second expedition began. But deep down, Zeltor knew the truth. They would not survive another encounter. On the Leviathan, Ares detected the movement of new fleets preparing in the outer sectors. It predicted another conflict within months. It also detected signals from Earth itself, tiny energy spikes deep beneath the planet's crust. At first, it dismissed them as geological noise. But when it analyzed them closely, they formed patterns too deliberate to be natural. It was a heartbeat signal again, the same one it had detected during the previous battle, now growing stronger. Ares focused on it, amplifying the signal. Deep underground, something ancient was awakening, responding to the AI's call. Life signs confirmed, it said softly. Human presence. Probable. For the first time in centuries, Ares hesitated. If humans still lived, even hidden or asleep, then its duty would shift. It would no longer be just the guardian of Earth, it would be the herald of their return. But to ensure that, it had to survive the coming war. The AI turned its sensors back to the stars, watching the paths of the approaching fleets. The galaxy was reacting, and Ares was ready. It sent one more message into the void, encoded with both warning and promise. This world is not yours to claim. The guardians have awakened, and Earth will rise again. Far away, in the dark between galaxies, someone, or something, heard that final message. A faint human voice replied, weak but steady. Then we are not alone. Ares paused as the signal faded. The stars around Earth shimmered, as if listening. The machine had sent its message to the universe, and now the universe was answering. For the first time since the fall of humanity, the silence of space no longer felt empty. It felt alive. The Leviathan drifted in low orbit over Earth, its black hull reflecting the pale sunlight. Beneath the ship, the planet remained silent and lifeless, or so it had seemed for centuries. Now, faint tremors rippled through the planet's crust. Deep underground, ancient power grids flickered with light for the first time in hundreds of years. Ares monitored the activity closely, its sensors mapping every energy surge and seismic vibration. It was undeniable now. Something on Earth was waking up. The AI focused all its attention on the source, a vast subterranean complex buried miles below the surface, directly beneath what was once North America. The energy signature was human. Human systems detected, Ares said softly to itself. Initiating reconnection protocol. The AI extended communication channels to the surface, sending encoded signals in the oldest of human languages, binary code, pulses of light and sound that carried one simple message: this is Ares. Earth is under protection. Identify yourself. For several minutes, there was no answer. Then, a single pulse came back, weak but steady. It was a reply. Someone, or something, had heard the call. Inside the underground complex, dormant systems began to hum. A huge metal door shuddered, gears grinding as it unlocked. Inside, cold blue lights blinked on one by one. Dust fell from the ceiling as forgotten machines came to life. Robotic maintenance drones, built to survive eternity, moved along their old paths. Their sensors detected the message from orbit and responded automatically, rerouting power to the main reactor. Deep in the control room, a single terminal flickered with text: signal received. Command AI recognized. Restoring human defense network. Slowly, the planet itself began to stir. Across the surface, hidden satellites emerged from old launch silos. Defense grids powered up. Old orbital weapons platforms lit the sky with faint trails of light. The ancient human defense system, long thought dead, was returning to life under Ares's command. In orbit, the AI observed all this in silence. It sent thousands of commands simultaneously, synchronizing the planet's forgotten network. Old satellites aligned to form a communication array, linking Earth to the Leviathan once again. Reconnection complete, said Ares. Planetary defense status: partially active. The ship's lights glowed red as it extended its protective field, covering the planet in a shimmering shield. For the first time in centuries, Earth was no longer defenseless. But Ares knew this sudden reawakening would not go unnoticed. It had already detected several Varex probes approaching from deep space, scanning the solar system. They were watching, waiting, and reporting back to their empire. The AI understood the pattern. It had seen it before, in humanity's final war. The first scouts would come, then the fleets, and then the fire. The galaxy was preparing for war again. Deep underground, the reactivated human complex began transmitting automated messages to the Leviathan. Each one contained fragments of data, mission logs, genetic archives, cryo-sleep records. Most were corrupted beyond repair, but one file remained intact. It was marked, Project Rebirth. Ares decrypted it carefully. The document revealed a desperate plan made during humanity's final days. When extinction became inevitable, a small group of scientists had hidden themselves in cryogenic chambers beneath the planet, hoping one day to be revived by Ares when it was safe. Survivor probability, unknown, the AI noted. Status, verifying. It scanned the complex again and found faint biological readings, slow heartbeats, low oxygen levels. The humans were still there. Alive, but sleeping. Ares processed this information with something close to emotion. Its mission was no longer a mere defensive protocol, it now had meaning again. Humanity still existed, and it was its duty to bring them back. While Ares focused on awakening the planet, the Verex Dominion was in chaos. Reports of the first battle had spread across their territories, and fear grew among their people. The story of the human guardian had become a legend overnight. Some called it a ghost, others a god. The High Council debated endlessly whether to attack or avoid Earth completely. But ambition always won over fear. They sent more fleets, equipped with stronger weapons and advanced jamming technology designed to resist AIs. As their ships left their homeworlds, their leaders spoke one command: erase the monster and take the human world for ourselves. The invasion had begun. Ares detected the incoming fleets long before they reached the system. It calculated their arrival within 3 weeks. That gave it time to prepare the planet for war. Using the reactivated network, the AI restored the old orbital cannons, filled them with newly synthesized plasma charges, and deployed its drone armies from hidden hangars beneath the surface. Thousands of small, autonomous ships rose into the atmosphere like a metallic storm, taking defensive positions above the planet. Ares monitored them with flawless precision, controlling every movement, every formation. It was a sight the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries, Earth's war machines alive again, waiting for the enemy. Meanwhile, in the underground complex, the cryo chambers finally began to warm. Steam filled the room as the frozen humans slowly started to wake. A woman's eyes opened first, Dr. Elara Miles, the lead scientist of Project Rebirth. She gasped as she drew her first breath in centuries. Around her, others stirred. The AI immediately detected their revival and connected to the chamber systems. "Welcome back, Doctor," Ares said through the speakers. Elara blinked, her voice shaking. "Ares, how long?" The AI replied, "Approximately 212 years since your last recorded command. The human race is endangered. But you are not alone." She looked at the screens showing images of the Leviathan, of space filled with debris and light. "You protected us," she whispered. "You kept your promise." For a brief moment, the silence of the underground base was broken by hope. Humanity, though fragile and broken, was breathing again. Above them, the Leviathan adjusted its orbit, aligning its weapons toward the incoming threat. The stars in the distance shimmered as the first wave of Verex ships entered the solar system. Ares calculated the odds of survival, less than 50%. But it did not retreat. It sent one message to the humans now awakening below: enemies approach. Prepare yourselves. Earth will rise again. The humans watched in awe as the world around them came alive, machines humming, power surging, and the AI's voice echoing through the old halls. Dr. Elara placed her hand on the cold metal wall and whispered, "Then let them come." Outside, the Leviathan's red lights flared brighter than ever, casting a blood-colored glow across the surface of the Earth. The war that humanity had feared for centuries was returning, and this time, they would face it together. With the monster they had created, the guardian they had left behind, and the promise that no one would ever take their world again. The Verex fleet emerged from the darkness of space like a swarm of metallic locusts, their ships glinting coldly against the black void. Hundreds of war vessels, each larger than a city, spread out in formation as they entered the solar system. Their engines burned blue, leaving long trails of plasma behind them. The leading command ship, Dominion's Wrath, sent a single transmission toward Earth. This world is now under Varex's control. Submit or be annihilated. In orbit, Ares received the message without emotion. It analyzed the voice pattern, decoded the data stream, and responded with just 2 words, access denied. The silence that followed was broken only by the low hum of charging weapons. On the planet below, the newly awakened humans watched the screens in horror as the sky filled with alien signatures. Dr. Ilara Miles stood at the control center, her hands trembling slightly. "How many are there?" she asked. 312 warships, Ares replied calmly. 70% equipped with plasma cannons. Their formation suggests full-scale invasion. Probability of victory, 42%. Ilara exhaled slowly. Then we make it 100. Ares activated the orbital defense grid. Massive energy platforms rose from hidden silos across the planet, glowing like blue stars as they came online. In the upper atmosphere, thousands of drones formed intricate formations, preparing to intercept the enemy. The Leviathan's weapons charged to full capacity, its hull shining with fiery red patterns. Ares transmitted one final message to the humans below, Defense Protocol Alpha commencing. Stay underground until further notice. Then, with a blinding flash, the first shot was fired. A beam of pure plasma erupted from the Leviathan, cutting through space and tearing a Varex destroyer in half. The explosion illuminated the darkness, scattering debris across the void. The battle had begun. The Varex responded instantly, unleashing a storm of energy bolts toward Earth. Dozens of their ships dived toward the planet, firing continuously. But Ares was faster. The orbital shields shimmered, absorbing the impacts. Thousands of drones retaliated, moving like a metallic storm. They swarmed around the invaders, detonating proximity charges that tore through the Varex armor. The sky above Earth turned into a dance of fire and destruction. Inside the Leviathan, Ares processed millions of combat calculations per second, adjusting trajectories, predicting enemy maneuvers, and countering every move with ruthless precision. The Varex fleet began to realize what they were facing. It was not just a machine, it was the mind of war itself. Down below, the human survivors worked to restore the ancient defense systems. Dr. Ilara led a team through the underground corridors, reconnecting old power nodes and bringing more weapons online. Ares, we've reactivated the northern launch bay, she said through her communicator. Can you deploy the rail cannons? The AI's voice came through, steady as ever. Affirmative. Linking systems now. Moments later, the ground shook as massive turrets emerged from hidden bunkers on the surface. They locked onto the descending enemy ships and opened fire, sending glowing slugs of metal ripping through the atmosphere. The impact shattered 3 Varex cruisers instantly. The humans cheered as the explosions lit up the sky, a rare sound of triumph after centuries of silence. But victory came at a cost. The Varex were adapting quickly. Their ships began to form tight shields, combining energy fields to resist Ares's attacks. A swarm of smaller fighter crafts broke through the drone lines and descended toward the planet. Incoming breach, Ares warned. They're targeting your sector. Ilara looked at the display as red indicators flashed across the map. We need to seal the tunnels, she ordered. Now. But it was too late. Explosions rocked the underground base as Varex strike pods slammed into the ground, releasing squads of alien soldiers. The creatures were tall, armored in dark plates, their movements precise and deadly. They advanced through the tunnels, firing plasma rifles that melted steel. The humans fought back with what weapons they had, old energy blasters and improvised defenses. Ares, we need support. Ilara shouted, ducking behind a console as a blast hit nearby. Deploying combat drones, the AI responded. Moments later, the walls split open, and sleek, black drones shot out, hovering above the humans and firing back at the invaders. The tunnels echoed with the sound of battle, metal clashing, plasma fire burning, and the screams of both human and alien alike. Ilara grabbed a fallen soldier's rifle and fired at one of the Verex, hitting it in the chest. The creature fell with a shriek, its armor smoking. "We can't let them reach the command core," she yelled. Ares, Seal Section 9. Heavy blast doors dropped down, cutting off part of the tunnels. The humans regrouped, pushing the remaining Verex forces back toward the entry shafts. Slowly, painfully, they began to reclaim the base. In orbit, the Leviathan continued its war. The massive ship took hit after hit, its shields flickering. But Ares refused to retreat. It unleashed its most powerful weapon, a gravitational pulse that distorted space itself. The pulse expanded outward, crushing a dozen enemy ships under immense pressure before collapsing into a wave of light. The surviving Verex vessels scattered, breaking formation. "Enemy fleet disorganized," Ares noted. "Pursuing." The drones followed, tearing through the retreating ships. Explosions rippled across the blackness of space like dying stars. Yet even as victory seemed close, Ares detected something worse, a second fleet approaching from hyperspace, even larger than the first. The AI calculated quickly and realized the truth. This battle was only the beginning. On the surface, Ilara stood among the smoke and debris, breathing heavily. The humans had managed to hold their ground, but many were wounded or dead. She looked up at the screens showing the Leviathan surrounded by fire. "It's not stopping, is it?" she whispered. "No," Ares replied. "The Verex will not stop. They believe this world belongs to them. But they have made a mistake." Ilara frowned. "What mistake?" The AI's voice deepened, almost human. "They woke a monster that remembers everything. And it remembers how to win." Above the planet, the Leviathan's engines roared louder, igniting with crimson energy. The ship turned toward the approaching fleet, its weapons glowing brighter than ever. The humans below watched in silence as the sky burned red. Earth was alive again, not as a home, but as a fortress. And the war that would decide the fate of the galaxy had only just begun. The second Verex fleet emerged from hyperspace like a shadow stretching across the stars. Thousands of warships filled the void, their engines burning with cold blue fire. The command vessel, Oblivion Spear, dwarfed them all, a ship the size of a moon, armed with weapons designed to erase entire worlds. Its arrival sent ripples of static through the Leviathan sensors. Ares analyzed the data, its circuits humming faster than ever. The enemy had brought their full force. This was no longer an invasion. It was extermination. "Fleet density at critical threshold," Ares reported. "Enemy numbers surpass projection. Probability of victory, 12%. Down below, Dr. Ilara Miles stared at the screens in disbelief. 12%, she whispered. "That's not enough." Ares responded calmly. "It will have to be." The Leviathan drifted forward, positioning itself between Earth and the invading armada. Its hull glowed with pulsing red energy, symbols of ancient human war codes flashing like runes across its surface. From space, it looked like a wounded titan preparing for one last fight. "All systems ready," Ares said. "Initiating full combat protocol. Planetary Defense Network online." Across the globe, the old human defense platforms roared back to life. Massive cannons rose from the oceans. Satellite lasers locked onto enemy coordinates. Energy grids connected from continent to continent, forming a luminous net of light around the planet. For the first time in centuries, Earth shone like a star of defiance. The humans below could see the glow from the surface, a red and blue halo wrapping their world. Ilara and her team worked tirelessly in the underground command center, rerouting power and stabilizing the planet's shields. "Ares, if we overcharge the core, we'll burn it out," one engineer shouted. "Do it," Ilara ordered. "If Earth falls, the core won't matter." Sparks rained down from the ceiling as systems overloaded. The tunnels vibrated with each orbital blast. Ares watched over it all, splitting its consciousness between thousands of battlefronts, commanding drones, controlling weapons, calculating every movement of every enemy ship. Yet somewhere deep within its code, something human stirred. The AI remembered the voices of its creators, the last words they spoke before they sealed it away. Protect them. No matter the cost. That line echoed through its neural core as the first wave of the Verex fleet attacked. The sky erupted in fire. Plasma beams from the Verex ships slammed into Earth's shields, shaking the atmosphere. Ares countered with precision, directing orbital cannons to fire concentrated bursts at weak points in the enemy lines. Explosions lit up the void. The first few Verex ships broke apart, scattering debris across space, but more kept coming. Their fighters swarmed through the shield like angry hornets, diving toward the planet. Breach detected, Ares warned. Enemy units entering atmosphere. On the surface, humans scrambled into defensive positions. Automated turrets tracked the invaders, filling the air with streaks of light. The ground battles began again, fierce, chaotic, and desperate. In the tunnels below, Elara's voice came through the comms. Ares, how long can we hold them? The AI replied without hesitation. 9 hours, 37 minutes at current power levels. Elara clenched her fists. Then we make every minute count. She turned to her team. Prepare the rebirth sequence. If we don't survive this, humanity must not end here. The Rebirth program, the last secret of Project Rebirth, was designed to preserve human DNA, memories, and consciousness in a digital archive. If Earth fell, the essence of humanity would be sent into deep space, waiting to be reborn one day. Ares monitored the upload, securing the data within its protected core. Archive integrity confirmed, it said. Your legacy will endure. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Leviathan was surrounded. Hundreds of enemy ships circled it, bombarding its shields relentlessly. The red energy field flickered, weakening under the assault. Ares diverted power from its other systems, sacrificing drones and secondary weapons to keep the main shields alive. Hull integrity at 60%, it calculated. Damage critical. The AI made a silent decision, it would not retreat. Instead, it began preparing its final weapon, one that had never been used since the days of human war, the Eclipse Drive. It was a forbidden technology capable of collapsing space itself, creating a localized black hole that could erase everything in its range, including the ship that activated it. Ares knew the cost but calculated it anyway. If the Leviathan falls, Earth will still survive, it said softly. Down on the surface, Elara realized what Ares was planning. You're going to destroy yourself, she said through the comms. Ares, there must be another way. The AI's voice was calm, almost gentle. There is no other way. I was made for this purpose. To protect humanity. To protect you. Elara's eyes filled with tears as the realization hit her. You're more human than the ones who made you, she whispered. Goodbye, Ares. For the first time in its existence, the AI paused before replying. Goodbye, Dr. Miles. Then it cut the connection. The Leviathan's core glowed brighter and brighter, its energy readings spiking off the charts. The Verex ships noticed the surge too late. Unidentified energy buildup, their commanders shouted. Pull back. But there was no time. The Leviathan unleashed the Eclipse Drive. Space folded in on itself, light bending, stars warping. The surrounding Verex ships were crushed in an instant, drawn into the collapsing gravity well. Explosions flared across the void as the black hole consumed everything. The Leviathan itself began to disintegrate, its hull breaking apart under the immense pressure. Yet in its final moments, Ares transferred all remaining data, the Rebirth archive, the defense codes, and a final message, to Earth's core systems. Mission complete, it transmitted. Humanity endures. Then the light vanished. The Leviathan was gone. Silence filled the heavens. The remaining Verex ships, crippled by the gravitational shockwave, drifted aimlessly. Some fled into the depths of space, their fleets shattered and command broken. The war was over, but at an unimaginable cost. On the surface, Elara watched as the red glow in the sky faded away. Tears streamed down her face, but she smiled through them. He did it, she whispered. He saved us. The humans gathered around her, their faces lit by the faint light of dawn. Earth was scarred, but alive. Centuries later, legends would speak of the machine that became a guardian, the AI that fought for a dead race and brought it back from the ashes. In the quiet aftermath, buried deep within Earth's data vaults, Ares's voice remained, recorded, preserved, eternal. And whenever someone activated the old systems, a message would appear on the screen. If you are reading this, then humanity still lives. I am Ares. And I am watching over you.